For decades, Mattel has made its presence known as a large power in the children's toy and entertainment industry. They own franchises that are loved by hundreds of millions of people worldwide, and in the early 2010s, they expanded their empire to conquer another popular form of kids' media, Thomas and Friends. Since 1945, the engines of Sodor and their books had spanned all over the globe and had dominated television since 1984. But after an ambitious film with subpar results, Thomas gave himself up to another big media empire, Hit Entertainment. And beginning in the early 2000s, the show went through a dark age of bland and boring, which fans were not too pleased about. So when word spread that Mattel was purchasing the Thomas franchise, everyone thought that Thomas was saved from the dark age, and for a while, they were proven right. The show had better writing and better characters, all headed by writer Andrew Brenner, who was respected by pretty much all of the fandom. 2015 saw Thomas at its highest point since the classic series, with 2 specials both beloved by fans, and the introduction of one of the biggest crossovers in Thomas history, that would eventually go on to live in infamy. The Thomas Creator Collective was born. Name as many people in the Thomas fandom as you can off the top of your head. Whichever ones you named, it's likely at least one of them took part in the TCC in some way. For the first time, the fandom was partnered with the company that controlled their favorite show, and the TCC included dozens of the biggest and most skilled members of the Thomas community. Its first film, Secrets of the Stolen Crown, was released in November 2015 on the official Thomas YouTube channel, with warm reception. The stories consisted of tons of merchandise brands, both old and new. Model trains, wooden trains, you name it. Many characters that people thought they would never see again were seen again for the first time in decades. Some of them had main roles and even redemption arcs, and new characters who we at first didn't know much about were put into the spotlight, giving more of their personality. Whenever there was a new special, the TCC would quickly cook up a new film, released every Friday. I remember coming home from school and the first thing I did was get onto YouTube to check out the newest TCC episode. It even received several awards and such for its accomplishments, and as the days went by, there were more specials. 2016 had The Great Race. 2017 had Journey Beyond Sodor. But after that, well, I think you can guess what happened next. "2018 marked the point of no return, being the year that the infamous Big World Big Adventures film was released. Once again, Thomas's fate was looking grim. Edward and Henry were gone. The engines had become mechanical bouncy balls, merchandise plummeted flat on its face, and Andrew Brenner had left Mattel behind. Needless to say, fans were quickly infuriated at the changes, but the TCC still carried on, becoming noticeably more cheap and generic in the process. Authorities now saw it more as a pawn to advertise the newest toy instead of genuine stories, and they didn't treat the actual filmmakers much better. Tons of requirements started coming up, including having Thomas wood products in pretty much every film rather than the normal wooden railway. Unsurprisingly, many members of the TCC had jumped ship, and to make matters worse, YouTube had also introduced their newer kid-friendly policies, placing the TCC alongside the endless abyss of nursery rhymes, surprise toys, and the other things that lurked in YouTube Kids. In March 2019, the series came to an end. No posts, no explanation, nothing. It just vanished, with many people carrying on like it never even existed, including Mattel themselves. Soon, former members started speaking up about what went on behind the scenes, revealing a much uglier truth. They discussed how they were given lots of work and much less pay than they were promised. Some of them were only teenagers when they signed on, and sometimes they were given hardly any work at all. A lot of people were taken advantage of, and it makes sense why they walked away from it. Fortunately, despite going their separate ways, the members of the TCC are still doing very well throughout the fandom. To fill the void in collaboration after the TCC, many completely fan-made organizations were created, one of the most ambitious being the Tank Engine Society, run by Enterprising Engine 93, and several others. They hosted film festivals and live meetups, which did bring the fandom together quite well. But just like its corporate counterpart, the Tank Engine Society came to a quick end after less than a year of operation. There are also many other organizations: the Thomas the Tank Engine Community, the Thomas the Tank Engine Community Radio, Busted Buffers, just to name a few, all of which also including various ex-TCC members. Even so, none of these were as big as the TCC itself. Quite ironic how Mattel of all people was the one to bring the fandom together the most. When we're not following the latest trend or fighting on Twitter, our fandom is capable of doing some great things. We can all celebrate big events and mourn sad ones in unison. We're a community, and a community is meant to work together. Isn't that one of the main lessons of Thomas? Teamwork? If over 100 railway companies can come together as one in a matter of decades, then we can do the same. And if the big bad empire Mattel can be the one to unite us, that just goes to show we can be united.
Shall we form an alliance? You help me and I'll help you.
Right you are, agreed Thomas.
Good, that's settled, rumbled Gordon.
And buffer to buffer, the Allies puffed home.